What other things are stressing you out apart from exams and tests in school? Money, part-time job, life in general, just the whole picture. The future, yep. Health, okay. So one of the main things that's involved in all this stressing is obviously your thinking, yeah? So if we don't think, we really don't have a problem, right? Yeah, okay. And the thoughts that we think create feelings, would you agree? And then when we start feeling things, we change our actions, and then our actions start to impact on the world. And life is affected by that. Would you agree? Yeah, okay. So this is a bit of a chicken and egg kind of thing. Where do we put a halt? Where do we put the, you know, that plug in? Where do you put the door stopper to stop that thing rolling? It's a tricky one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this funky technique. It's called emotional freedom technique, or EFT. It's got nothing to do with transferring money, I'm afraid. And it's been around for a really long time. It hasn't actually been accepted in mainstream therapy until very recently. And the reason for that is it doesn't follow the normal Western medical model. Just last year, the American Psychological Association gave it the big green tick and said, we can no longer ignore the fact that this works, because there's been lots of trials, like the US military ran a clinical trial on their returned servicemen and women who'd been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder after Afghanistan and Iraq. Very successful. The people in that group don't have post-traumatic stress disorder anymore. They did 2 sessions of this stuff. And when you see it, just look, it's so easy. You will genuinely be able to do this when you leave. It's been used in places like Rwanda after lots of trauma in orphanages with kids. Really awful example. I'll give you some sad stories, make you feel bad, and then I'll make you feel good, okay? I don't know if you're familiar with all the yucky stuff that happened over there. Doesn't matter, a long time ago now. So lots of murder and mayhem anyway. And so these young children, lots of kids in orphanages, and this group went around and they did these sessions of EFT, this tapping stuff. And this one particular girl, she couldn't remember her family at all. All she could remember was this last event. And so after she'd been doing this tapping stuff for 15 minutes, she just naturally in conversation began to talk to the people that she was working with about her family. Surprisingly, you know, after a long time of not being able to remember anything. So it's weird how it works, and I'm not going to sell it to you. This is not, you know, a sales thing, but we'll have a fiddle around and see how it works. The theory is, who's ever had acupuncture? Yeah, okay, cool. So for the rest of you who haven't, have you heard about it? This map in the body. It's a bit like the, you know, we know our veins, but there's supposed to be this energy system that's similar to the veins, cardiovascular system in the body. And at certain points, they call them acupressure points. What we're going to do is we're actually going to tap on these points. And the theory is that when we make a statement, a problem statement, like I'm stressed out about my exams, there's an emotional response that sends an electrical charge through that meridian system. And then when we tap on those acupressure points, we interrupt the charge. So we interrupt it, interrupt it, interrupt it, and basically the theory is that we break that charge down, it becomes less. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? But it seems to work for a lot of people. So that's the theory, and that's why it hasn't sort of had the airspace that it might have if it had appeared a bit more mainstream Western medical model. You'll see on the bottom right hand corner there's a little chart with smiley and sad faces, and they call that the SUD scale. It's got nothing to do with SOAPy. It stands for Subjective Units of Distress Scale. I know that you all want to know what the person next to you is doing, thinking, who they're talking to, all that other stuff, but just for this little exercise, if you could ask yourself the question, or just check in with yourself, that little first setup statement there, it says, I feel overwhelmed by all the work I have to do. if you just think about that yourself in your own mind, if that was totally true, it would be number 10 on the scale. And if it was 0, it would be not true. So what I'd like you to do is just write in on Thursday, the little box on Thursday, on the left-hand side of that stroke, how true it is that you feel overwhelmed by all the work you've got to do. Because it's really fairly important that you don't just take my word for it. You need to try this and see how it works for you. Yeah? So you got your number? So that setup statement, that whole thing, we're actually going to say that, like you're all going to be a bit goosey along with me. We're going to say this stuff out loud, okay? And everyone else is going to do it too. And if you're not saying it, I will know. And I will point at you. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap on the heel of the hand. And just repeat after me. Even though I feel overwhelmed by all the work I have to do, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Yep. Even though I feel overwhelmed by all the work I have to do, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. One more time. Even though I feel overwhelmed by all the work I have to do, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Cool, you've got through the hardest part. So you'll see that part of that statement is underlined. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tap, because that's our problem. We've made that be our problem just for the process. And we're going to tap on the thick part of the eyebrow, then the end of the eye where one day you may have laughter lines if you have a very fun life. And then under the iris on the bone underneath your eye, yep. And then under the nose, little canal there, hopefully no one's got a cold. On the crease of the chin, on your collarbone, and it doesn't matter which side of your face you do this on. And then under your arm, where the bra strap would be, and I know that the boys know this too. And the next bit is, they call it the liver point. If we were together, I would just say under the boob. So put your hand from your nipple, and then you'll know it's sort of that ribby bit there. That's where you're tapping, okay? We'll call it the liver point because we're being good. You got it? Yep. And then where you would take your pulse. And the next bit is really fun, on top of your head. So it's a bit of a monkey look. Yep, both hands. It's fine for you to change sides. It doesn't matter which side you're on. Yeah.
Can you either hand?
Yeah, either hand. Yeah, because if you do lots of this, you get tired. Yeah, and it's good to just tap gently. You don't want to bruise yourself. Yeah. Some of the guys that come and see me, they're like bang, bang, bang. No, not needed. So that's one round. So they're all the points. So we're not going to say the whole statement every time we're at a point, so we're just going to shorten it down and say, I feel overwhelmed, and we know what that means. I feel overwhelmed by all the work I have to do, right? Yeah. So just follow what I say. I feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. So much work to do. It's just doing my head in. I feel overwhelmed. Under the arm, I feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. On the pulse, I feel overwhelmed. On top of the head, I feel overwhelmed. Cool. So that's one round. Second one, I feel overwhelmed. This is driving me mad. I've got no time to hang out. Too much work. I just feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. Under the arm, I feel overwhelmed. I feel completely overwhelmed. On top of the head, I feel overwhelmed. Okay, so that's the second round last time. I feel overwhelmed. So much work. I'm so worried about it. It's getting me down. I feel overwhelmed. It's like there's only ever work to do. I feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. Okay, so I feel so overwhelmed. Just give me your number. Don't tell me. Just write it down. How true is that for you now? Look at that scale. 10 is it's totally true or a big problem. 0 is it's not true or not a problem. So don't get into your brain box here. Just let that number come and just record it for yourself. Does that make sense? Yeah? So what you want to see is there a shift downwards? And that's something, you know, it doesn't, this is not something that you can run through the grey matter. You know, most of the time someone asks a question. Do you? Has your number changed? Okay. So, if you're used to living in your head, which most of us are, because we've got to, when we answer a question, we've got to think things through. Yeah, we've got to work it out. If I answer this way, it'll mean that, and this isn't tested yet. Is that familiar to anybody? Yeah. Yeah. This is something different. We're sort of checking in inside. It's a different way of doing things. It's like, you know, when you get that gut feeling about someone or a place, it's like you're just checking in that way. Well, let me put it this way. Has anybody had a shift in their number so that it's less now? Yeah, okay, cool. So most of the people, yeah. Now that seems weird, right? How can that happen? Interesting. Do you want to try another one? Yeah? What is the thing that stresses you out the most? Dead silence. Yep. Your job. Time management, okay. So would it be true if we said, I can't fit everything in? So how true would that be? A 7, okay, cool. So would that be something that would be true for most of the people here? You can't fit everything in? Yeah? Okay. So let's play with that one. So we're going to do our setup statement. We're going to tap on the heel of the hand and just say, even though I can't fit everything in, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I can't fit everything in, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I can't fit everything in, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Cool. So we're shortening it down again, and we'll just say, I can't fit it in, yeah? I can't fit it in. I can't fit it in. There's just not enough time. There's just too much crap to do. I can't fit it in. It just won't fit into each day. I can't fit it in. I can't fit it in. I want to fit it in, but I can't. I can't get my job done. I can't do all the stuff I've got to do at home. All the schoolwork. The expectations. Trying to do what I've got to do. I can't fit it in. I just can't. I can't fit it in. There's too much to do. Not enough time. I can't fit it in. So we've got one more to do, yeah? I can't fit it in. Now you know why we've got to tap gently. Can't fit it in. I just can't fit it in. Well, the truth is I don't want to fit all of it in. I can't fit it in. I can't fit it in. I can't fit it in. I want to, but I can't. Top of the head, I can't fit it in. How true is that for you now? Just let that number come to you, write it down. Yep. So what do you think about that weird tapping stuff? Bit different, yeah? I would suggest to you that you might want to go online, Google it, EFT or tapping. Sometimes it's called tapping. There's a lot of different versions of doing it. What I'm showing you is the more traditional style. There's another cool thing to do. Who sits in class sometimes and stresses out while they're in class thinking, I don't know what they're talking about? Yeah, cool. So there's this thing called continual tapping, and it's super easy. And apart from us in this room, and we don't have to tell them if we don't want to, you can just do this. You tap with your thumb on the side of your index finger, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and just keep doing that. This is the best bad habit that you could possibly acquire. Continual tapping. The idea about this, and this is what they say, try it, see what you think, is that you just move any emotional stuff as it pops in. So you might see some people wandering around Albury Wodonga who are just walking around doing this weird tapping thing that no one seems to notice. And if you're in class, under the table, on the phone, no one knows what you're doing. Try it, see what you think. It's supposed to just move any stress, basically, out of your system. You know, and working on that same theory of that meridian system.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like tapping wherever, just...
Yeah, you don't even have to think about anything particular. It's just one of those automatic things. It's like you don't have to engage the brain. Because sometimes that's kind of nice. Yeah. Okay. So you're happy to put that to the side? You feel like you've got what you need out of that? Yep. Now, on that handout that we've been working on, just make up your own statements. There's a whole bunch of blank ones there. So the things that are relevant for you, if you've got an ex who's driving you up the wall and every time you see them you get upset, you can make that a statement. You can say, every time I see blah, 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 I get stressed out, and work on that.